Okay, I'd like to call tonight's special meeting of council to order. Recommendation that the agenda for the special regular council meeting of June 29th, 2016 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Moreau, second by Councillor Kinney. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, moving to item 6A, report from our Director of Operations regarding the Canada 150 Fund grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation from the Operations Department is that Mayor and Council pass a resolution approving the following grant application. It is the Canada 150 Fund. It's for the Airport Ferry Ramp Pontoon Rehabilitation. The goal of the Canada 150 Fund is to provide funding opportunities for local, regional, and national projects that contribute to building a better Canada. The proposed project will replace the pontoons on the Fairview Bay Ferry side, so on the city side, the Cane Island side. These pontoons need daily monitoring due to their age and extreme environment in which they are situated. It is an essential piece of infrastructure and is in dire need of replacement. The successful grant will mean that it will be less cost to the local taxpayer. So we are looking for a resolution to approve the grant application to go in. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Operations Manager?
I was just wondering what other kind of projects were eligible and why did you choose this one? Was this on our list of projects that needed to be done, or is it just that the thing's sinking?
This has been on our radar for a few years. It is an essential piece of infrastructure. We felt that it fit because it every person traveling, every tourist that comes into our community uses the airport ferry or people that fly in. We've been putting it off because of the cost of the infrastructure improvement. We have to do annual inspections. The inspection this year showed that it has gotten worse in the last year, and it's actually costing us quite a bit more. So we need to do this maintenance.
Ms. Baumann?
I would just like to add that it was actually already included in the capital budget, and so because of the funding that's been announced, we are applying for funding to cover it.
Okay, so the recommendation is that Mayor and Council pass a resolution approving the following grant application, Canada 150 Fund Airport Ferry Ramp Pontoon Rehabilitation. Moved by Councillor. Okay, moved by Councillor Randhawa, second by Councillor Niche. Any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a report from Chief Financial Officer regarding the May 2016 Financial Variance Report.
Thank you. Now that the financial plan has been approved by Council in April, we were able to input the budget figures, compare them to actual, and we have it up through the end of May. Revenues in comparison to last year, airport ferry revenue is down due to the departure of Hawk Air. An additional flight, however, and higher loads from Air Canada Express have partially offset this. Cow Bay Marina is a new revenue source this year. The bylaw regulating fees was passed in April of 2016. As for expenditures, most departments are within budget for this time of year. Overall, operating revenue and expenditures are tracking close to budget. Utility budgets, aggregate operating revenues and expenditures are expected to be close to budget, and the capital purchases and capital works are underway and are taking place in the summer. And therefore, there's nothing anomalous, and the recommendation is that Council receives this report for information purposes.
Okay, any questions from Council?
I have a question.
Okay.
Are we on target with the Cow Bay Marina what we expected for this time, with revenue?
Yes, it was expected that come May we would end up with much of our boats coming in, our transient vessels, itinerant vessels, I mean, and that actually is going steadily. The marina manager has reported that they're full, and lots of interest, lots of good reports, lots of good feedback, and many people calling to make reservations.
Anything further? Okay, so the recommendation that council receives this report for information purposes. Moved by Councillor Kinney, second by Councillor Moreau. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next, a report from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2015 SOFI.
The BC Financial Information Act requires the City of Prince Rupert to prepare a document called the Statement of Financial Information. The document provides information on the city's financial transactions which occurred during the fiscal year. The Statement of Financial Information must be approved by Council within 6 months of the end of the fiscal period. Most of the information that must be presented is contained in the annual audited financial statement. The Statement of Financial Information is being prepared pursuant to the legislation, and in conclusion, Council, by approving the 2015 Statement of Financial Information, will fulfill the requirements of the BC Financial Information Act.
Questions from council? Okay, so the recommendation is that council by resolution approve the 2015 Statement of Financial Information. Moved by Councillor Renhow, second by Councillor Niche. Further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And lastly, we have a report from our corporate administrator regarding the National Disaster Mitigation Program.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A grant opportunity is being made available to the City of Prince Rupert through the National Disaster Mitigation Program administered by Emergency Management BC. The City of Prince Rupert is able to apply for a total of $450,000 for the first phase of this work that will involve extensive risk assessments with regards to a possible tsunami event. An availability of funding exists that will assist with the following steps, including the first step of developing an overall plan, and stage 1 of risk assessment. Stage 2 will involve flood mapping, stage 3 mitigation and planning, and stage 4 investment in non-structural or small-scale structural mitigation. The cost for the stage 1 of this project will be accommodated via the grant funding that is received directly from this program. No direct funding will be required by the city. It is anticipated that if the city is successful in this initial stage of a grant award, that this will in turn speak to additional grant funding being provisioned for the following 3 stages additionally. The recommendation is that Council provide staff direction to proceed with a grant application to fund the first stage of developing a City of Prince Rupert tsunami risk assessment funded by the National Disaster Mitigation Program. Thank you.
Okay, so the recommendation that council provide staff or approve the grant application to fund the first stage of developing the City of Prince Rupert tsunami risk assessment funded by the National Disaster Mitigation Program. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Niche. Discussion?
I have the same question again, and that is, we're receiving this money, and how much is the total cost of the work? So again, I always have the problem that we apply for funding, but if we don't have the other part of that in our budget, then what we're doing is we're having to take money from another part of the budget and apply it to matching funding for this. So I was just wondering how we're doing that.
Thank you. There is no matching funding. The funding is coming provisioned by the federal government and the province, and so there is no additional funding except for in kind, and that in kind is just the work that's necessary to prepare the applications and submit them to the funding bodies.
So it's a fully paid grant, basically. Okay. Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, the first stage is the risk assessment. Is this going to be part of staff's regular work, or are we going to be, how is it going to be handled? Because risk assessment is something that can be quite involved when you start looking at it for the city, and what staff members are going to be involved and how much of their time is it going to take?
Thank you. This is actually being headed up by the fire chief and the deputy fire chief, so it's falling on their shoulders, but it will be consultants that will be brought in to actually do all of the work. It's just we're here for an advisory commitment, and that's the in-kind. It's just in the event that they need questions answered and any historical information, but that's it.
Other questions? Yep.
This is just going to be from what I read in the report, is just going to be stage 1. So obviously we're going to have a commitment to stage 2 or stage 3, or we're just going to leave it a risk assessment of stage 1. That's all my question was what is our commitment? And I suppose it's good to have a risk assessment, but if you can't do anything about the risk afterwards, because stage 2 is flood mapping, stage 3 is mitigating and planning, and stage 4 is investment in non-structural or small-scale structural mitigation. And so all I'm wondering is that if we're just going to do a risk assessment for $450,000, what is our commitment in the future? Or do we think the $450,000 is going to cover all of those? That's a lot of money, right? All of those stages from 1 to 4. It just reads as though this is only for the risk assessment. That's all I was wondering.
Thank you, and that is correct. It is for the first stage, so they're providing or provisioning up to $450,000 as needed. And then when it comes to the second stage, we'll have to apply for a second grant, and for the third and for the fourth. The ideology is that if we're successful with this first grant, the province and the federal government will be more prone to wanting us to continue on and complete this project in all 4 stages. Thank you.
Also, I would think after the risk assessment, you'll know how much of a risk there is and how much more planning you have to do. You don't know what your risk is till you do that risk assessment.
Correct.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Niche, second by Councillor Cunningham. All those in favor? Meeting's adjourned.